All right, it started. Go ahead.
Okay, I would like to call the, hold on a second. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, first of all, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Audit and Finance Committee meeting to order. Today is April the
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, can we, can I just ask everybody at the moment to just mute their, make sure if you're in a room with someone that you know where your mute button is real quick, okay? So I just want to, I see Ray Joyce is in the waiting room to be, does anybody see that besides me?
I don't see him yet.
Yeah, it says admit.
There he is.
There he is, okay. All right, so again, thank you everyone for this evening. I hope everyone is well. Today's April 30th. We've had a lot of rain and I know everybody's been very busy. I hope all your families are well. And so what I would like to do, first of all, I'd like to take Kevin to do a roll call of all of the, not only the participants, but all of the people that have signed in. I also see the minority council. So could you just list everyone if you can? If it misses a name, could you let us know if your name has been missed?
Okay, Madam Chairwoman, I'm going to start with the members of the committee. Mr. Peter.
Here.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Here.
Mr. Clay.
Here.
Mr. Grimm.
Here.
Mr. Joyce.
Here.
Ms. Lakakis. Ms. Lakakis.
Here, I'm sorry, I was muted here.
Okay. Mr. Mayo.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
And Ms. Willingham.
Here.
So, Madam Chairwoman, we have 9 members present for the committee. In terms of the other present individuals, we have the county executive, we have the sheriff, we have Sheriff Apple, Commissioner Thalen, we have Mike McLaughlin from the executive's office. We have Mike Perrin, Chief of Staff for the chairman, Arnis Zilgme, Minority Counsel, Carolyn McLaughlin, Bill Ricard, Frank Moriello, and I believe that is everyone. If I missed anyone, please let me know.
You missed Mike Perrin and Pat Collins and so forth.
Okay, so Mike Perrin, Chief of Staff for the chairman, Pat Collins, Chair Counsel to the chairman.
All right, very good. So we have a full house here tonight. And so again, I'll just say good evening to you one more time. And let you know, we do have 18 items on the agenda tonight. And I'll let Kevin give us some rules on how we're going to run the meeting.
So at this point, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee, as you know, the governor recently issued executive orders allowing us to stream these meetings rather than meeting in person. This streaming is occurring live on YouTube. There's also a call-in number, and that will be sufficient to satisfy Governor Cuomo's changes to the open meetings law.
And as far as the agenda is concerned?
So we're going to go through the agenda in our traditional fashion, one item at a time.
Okay, all right. Now, so can you put, you're going to have to put the agenda up.
Pat, can you do that?
Pat, you're on mute.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so we're going to start the meeting, number one, by approving the previous minutes. So,
Motion, Madam Chairwoman,
yes, I'd like to have a motion.
for Matthew Peter.
Okay, so my motion came from, and see, I can't see. No, I can't see.
Matt Peter.
Okay, the
And
motion. came. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. So we're gonna move on to item number 2, which will have the majority council address.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Item number 2, members of the committee, has already been voted on, so it is out of order for this meeting. If you'll recall, when the COVID pandemic began, we had to significantly adjust our normal schedule. This was originally an item that would have been on the March committee. However, we took some emergency steps and it was passed on March 24th. So it is out of order for this meeting. There's no vote required on it. And you can move on to item number 3.
All right, thank you. I need to ask a question. On my iPad, can you tell me where I can get into, I need to see the agenda. I can't look at you all and see the agenda at the same time.
There's,
It's on Granicus. If you have the Granicus button, Wanda. Yep. As you go in there on Granicus, hit the Granicus button when you get inside the screen.
What is the Granicus button?
it's a big G.
On the bottom.
The G button, Wanda, the G button.
Blue.
Okay, I got it. And so, and I don't see, oh,
Well,
the.
give it a
agenda.
minute, because it says Audit and Finance Committee on 2024-30 across the top.
Yours may say that, mine doesn't.
Yes, yes.
Is it online?
Yeah, she
So
must
on
be.
the bottom left-hand corner is a refresh button.
You have to get online, download them.
Oh my God. It's asking me for a username.
Wanda, do me a favor, X out of that, or hit the home button on the bottom of the physical button on the bottom of the iPad.
Okay, I did.
Okay. And move your screen left or right until you see legislative meeting. It's the Albany County seal.
Not good. I don't know what you just said. So,
Move your screen to the left or right so you can see the Albany County seal. It may even be on the bottom.
the Albany County seal is
No,
right in
it's
front.
an icon with the Albany County seal.
Okay, so now I should be able to see the tonight's meeting agenda on here. Is that right? Here it is.
Yes.
Do you see it?
Yes, sir.
It's a rather large file.
It's loading. Thank you very much. It's coming.
What do you want? If you want, I can pull up the agenda
I have
on the
it.
screen.
I have it.
Yeah, but you can't see everybody. The agenda.
Okay, now bring everybody back, whatever you did, okay? Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so now we're on to current business number 3. Authorizing,
Right, this is page 49, Madam Chairwoman, for anyone following along on paper.
okay, authorizing the submission of a grant application and an agreement with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant. And that is number 3. And Sheriff Apple?
Good evening, everybody. So this is 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant, perfect timing. We average between 115,000 and 119,000 each year. Last year was 116. This helps our operations with education, preparedness, and it allows us to go out to other events in the community as well.
Do I have any questions from any members?
Madam Chairwoman, can I make a motion?
Motion.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I have a second from Mr.
Second.
O'Brien. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. We'll move on now to number 4. Authorizing the submission of a grant application to the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the 2019 hazmat grant.
Page 53, Madam Chairwoman.
On page 53, if you're following along in your agenda.
Madam Chairwoman, this is I'm requesting legislative approval for our 2019 hazmat grant. It's part of our 4-county team. We are a fiduciary agent for this. Normally, we're around 150,000. We expect to be around the same this year.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Clay. I got a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, passes unanimously. We're now on to number 5, authorizing an agreement with Black Creek Integrated Systems Corporation to expand the security control system for the lobby control unit at the Albany County Corrections and Rehabilitative Services Center.
Madam Chairwoman, this is exactly what it says. It's a $180,000 upgrade for the lobby, kind of bring the lobby doors into the 20th century. This is sole source, competitive bidding was not required. The expansion allows touchscreen and all locking doors to be run from the computer. This money is encumbered money from 2019.
Motion.
I got a question.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I got a question.
okay, I hear you. I have a question from Mr. Grimm. The chair recognizes Mr. Grimm. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sheriff, why was it sole source? What's the reason why it wasn't competitive bid?
It's Black Creek, and they're the vendor that has all of the electronic components for the automated jail cells. So they are the only ones with it. It's strictly a sole source.
Nobody else could do it, you're saying?
No, exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have a question too, Wanda, if I could.
Who is that?
It's Dave
Dave
Mayo.
Mayo.
Okay, Mr. Mayo. Chair recognizes Mr. Mayo.
Right, thank you. Sheriff, are there problems currently with the locking systems?
With the locking systems?
Yeah, I mean, I know this is an upgrade, but are you having major troubles with this?
No, we're trying to bring the lobbies into the other parts of the jail as far as the 20th century, where not just a key, but you'll be able to do it from remote access.
I'm concerned about the budget at the end of the year, and if we have to lay off, 200 people or something, I don't want to, prevent you from doing what you have to do, but it's $180,000 of county money. That could be 4 jobs, I was just wondering if it possibly be put off for a year or something like that.
Actually, that's why it was encumbered. We put it off last year. To say it's an absolute priority, Dave, I would say no, but it's something that's going to be needed to be upgraded. So I could kick the can another year, but it's got to be done.
Okay, I don't want to fight you on it. I was just wondering.
No, I get it. I understand. I mean,
Yeah.
Trust me, we've been, crunching numbers for the last couple of weeks ourselves because we know we're going into a tough year. But
Yeah.
it's I'm afraid to kick the can down, and then what happens next year?
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo.
Motion to move it.
I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien. I get a second. I got a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. On to number 6, authorizing an agreement with the United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance regarding reimbursement for the incarceration of criminal aliens and amending the 2020 Sheriff's Office budget.
Madam Chairwoman, this is the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program for the undocumented criminal aliens. We expected around 25,000. We received 34,388. This is for 2017 to 18. This money can be used at the correctional facility. So we usually try to put it in lines that where we won't have to use budgeted money. We can move that money out and use the SCAP money.
Motion.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Clay. I got a second from Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. On to number 7, authorizing an agreement with the United States Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance regarding reimbursement for the incarceration of criminal aliens and amending the 2020 Sheriff's Office budget.
This is the same grant, Madam Chairwoman, just a year earlier. This is for 16 through 17, the Criminal Alien Assistance Program. This grant was for 38,132. Again, we anticipated around 25,000, and it will be for security equipment.
Motion to move.
All right, can you just clarify
Second.
one thing? I thought all of the aliens were gone out of the jail.
They are. These are for individuals that may come in for another charge, another criminal charge, and then we get money back on that each year.
Okay.
This is different from housing ICE immigrants.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. A motion?
Yes.
I got a motion from Mr. Bergdorf. I got a second from Lynn Lakakis. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. We move on to number 8, amending the 2020 Sheriff's Office budget, ambulance services.
Madam Chairwoman, this is to replenish our automobile line with 63,500 that we use to purchase a used ambulance out of Pennsylvania. The money will come from our EMS reserve line, which is our revenue recovery line.
Motion to move it.
I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien.
Second.
Okay, I got a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 9, authorizing an agreement with the United States Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance regarding the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program.
Madam Chairwoman, I'm just seeking legislative approval to enter into the agreement, federal grant from U.S. Department of Justice, $58,008 for PPE such as gloves, masks, sanitizer, whatever medical needs of inmates, things of that nature. It's not much, but it'll help offset some of the costs that we incurred.
Motion to move it.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. O'Brien and I got a second from Ray Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved, passes unanimously. Number 10, authorizing agreements regarding vehicle maintenance and repairs for county-owned vehicles.
Madam Chairwoman, this was the acceptance, requesting legislative approval for the acceptance of the bid. It's a 3-year contract, 1 plus 2 additional 1-year renewals. It includes Dots Garage, Destination Nissan, New Scotland Auto, Route 85 Auto Works, and Lazeros.
Motion.
I got a motion from Mr. Clay. I got a second from Mr. Peter. All
Yes.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And number 11, amending resolution number 33 for 2020 regarding emergency medical technician services.
Apparently, Madam Chairwoman, back in February 10th of this year, there was a clerical error on a resolution. And I believe some dollars needed to be changed from 53,000 up to 60,000. So this is just an amendment.
Motion to move it.
I got a motion
Second.
from Mr. O'Brien. I got a second from Lynn Lakakis. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, opposed? Passes unanimously. Sheriff, I want to thank you for coming out this evening. And you have approximately 1 minute if you want to address us on something.
No, I'm good, folks. I planned that at some point in the future, hitting all my meetings and kind of giving you the pros and cons of the COVID-19 of what we've done. I know that you guys are all trying to move the meeting along, so I won't get into the details now, but at some point I would like to put 5 to 10 minutes aside just to brief everybody on some of our best practices and some of the things that quite honestly didn't work.
Well, we just want to thank you for the fantastic job that you're doing. I do see Joe O'Brien's hand up. Mr. O'Brien?
I just want to publicly thank Sheriff Apple for the mask and the sanitizer that we can give out to our constituents. Andrew Joyce was instrumental in getting
thank
that to all the legislators. I want to thank you publicly.
Yes, thank
No, you're very welcome. I got to tell you something. We are one of very few counties, and I've talked to Danny about this, one of very few counties in the state that actually, I guess you could say we relatively were prepared. And we're not hurting for everything like the other counties are. And, you know, sometimes it seems like, you know, my gosh, what are you wasting that money on? You know, the stash of the N95s and the surgicals and the gowns and the face shields, we had thousands, and we were way ahead of everybody else. So it really pays off to be prepared, the training and everything else. And I know it's going to be tough budget times, but you know, there's certain things that we really need to do. This is a perfect example of why.
Thank you. All right, since we're looking forward to your update in the near future. And again, thank you so much for all of the service that you all are providing. And we just want to say, stay safe out there as well as you possibly can.
Yep. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks,
You
Sheriff.
will.
Thanks, Craig.
Okay, well,
Okay, I guess what I'd like to know, between Mr. Thalen and Mr. McLaughlin, you'll let me know which are the items that you all are handling. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're going on to number 12, authorizing the submission of a grant application for agreement with New York State Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children regarding the Children First Initiative and amending the 2020 Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center budget. What page is that on, Mr. Canizero?
Is on page 134.
All right, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is just authorization for the Children First Initiative. I'm sure folks have seen in the news a lot of controversy related to gymnastic programs and abuse, also on a collegiate level, but this will allow our Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center to begin liaising with the local clubs and kind of as a preventative measure, and allow them to kind of, if there is any abuse, catch it early or prevent it altogether.
Very good.
Motion to move.
I got a motion from Lynn Lakakis.
Second.
I have a second from Matt Peters. Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 13.
I believe the Commissioner Thalen will be taking this one.
Okay, amending the 2020 Department of Residential Health Care Facilities Budget Administrative Adjustments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the nursing home is requesting to defund 2 positions and state a wound care nurse, as you know, and a supervising nurse. As you know, a wound care nurse in this time is very important as they monitor all of your, abrasions and also, your skin tears and everything of that nature. Department of Health is very focused on looking at these and researching these when they come in for their annual inspection, and to stop and be in compliance with that. They are looking through that.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes, Mr. Peter.
if there are no questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 14, rescinding the conveyance of real property pursuant to resolution number 69 for 2020 and authorizing the conveyance of 5 Schuyler Hills Road in the town of Colony.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. I had a conversation, the chair had a question that she asked that I address quickly before moving on to the item. So there's 2 items, number 14 and 16 on the agenda, that are rescissions that had been previously done. So what ends up happening in these situations is when we authorize the conveyance of properties to the land bank, there's a period of time between the authorization and the point they close. So sometimes in between that scenario, individuals approach us that have missed their taxes and who hadn't approached us up to this point, and they say, can we purchase the property back? Obviously, we prefer to allow individuals to remain in their properties, especially if they're willing to pay their taxes. And of course, in this particular case, with the fees and interest intact. So that's what these scenarios are. The following one's a little bit more unique, which I'll get to at that point. But this is just a basic sale back. Mr. and Mrs. Heinzman approached us and said, We missed it. We apologize. We have the full amount in hand. As you can see from the backup, they provided it in certified funds. We have it in escrow, and they're just asking to have the property conveyed back to them.
Motion.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Bergdorf?
Yeah, I was just curious, out of the $78,000, how many years was that and how much was it in fines and interest?
Okay, so these folks were delinquent back to 2014. Their base principal billed amount was $54,865.68. The interest due is $23,209.04. And between the period of time that they provided the certified amount and the period of time that they close, there will be further amount that will accrue that they will be required to pay upon closing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bergdorf.
Motion to move.
I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien. I got a second from Mr. Peters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 15, rescinding resolution number 205 in 2019 and authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 2A Lincoln Avenue in the town of Colony to T Roof Industries LLC.
Yes, Madam Chair. So this is, I think I should probably give a shout out and thanks to Majority Council. There was some work done on a previously passed resolution for the conveyance of a piece of property that is in withdrawn status and is verifiably severely contaminated. This is a rework of that just to make it more palatable to not only the county, but frankly, to allow the receiver of the property the opportunity to work with DEC to leverage whatever resources are necessary to work with the property.
Motion to move it.
I got a
I
motion.
got a question.
Question from Ms. Lakakis.
Is this, I Googled this address because there wasn't a map attached and it came up as being above the rural cemetery. Is that the Altec?
It's down, yes, using the Altec site.
Altec, right?
Yes, yes.
Where,
If you,
I just want to be positive because it was called Altec in the paperwork.
yeah, it is. It's like I said, it was voted on here a few months ago. This is just a rework of the resolution.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure it was the same area.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no questions. I did have a motion from Mr. O'Brien. Is that correct?
Yep, second.
I have a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously, and we are on number 16. Rescinding the conveyance of real property pursuant to resolution number 69 for 2020 and authorizing the conveyance of 54 Clinton Avenue in the city of Albany.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you very much. This is similar but different to number 14. It is a conveyance that we are making as part of the plan. The disposition plan that you folks passed here, I believe last year, allows for our office to identify and present to you certain properties that may benefit the county in a few ways. This particular property is a row house or row lot. It is sandwiched between two row houses. So there are only two potential receivers of the property unless somebody wanted to buy the property and build on the property, which would be very difficult given its size. So we canvassed both owners and one responded. And this benefits us in the sense that, one, we know that it won't be, or it's highly unlikely that it will leave the tax rolls again. And two, the individuals that are going to close on the property will be responsible for merging it with their existing holdings, making one parcel and simplifying our tax maps.
Quick question, Madam Chairwoman.
Yes, Chair recognizes Mr. Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. McLaughlin, just a quick question on the disbursement. Besides merging it with their property, do they have to identify anything that they're going to do with the property? If it's a betterment, if it's, things of that nature, that they have the funds to either maintain it or improve it, et cetera?
Yeah, so it's yes and no. And I only say that because it depends. Like this was a lot that they were already maintaining. So
Right, no, understood. This is more of an on principle.
If it's a larger property, then yes, that question becomes much more complicated and harder to justify when we bring it to you folks. But yes, the question is asked, and then I have the DGS guys that do our property maintenance stuff go out and make sure that they're not just saying that they are indeed mowing the lawn. You know, some folks have actually not even known properties were foreclosed upon and had put up fences and things like that, so that we have evidence that they are maintaining it. But the answer is yes.
All right, is it possible at all to get any type of standards you have on property, like when you seek a development plan, when you don't, or any type of guidelines you have?
Don't really have any, but willing to engage in the conversation.
Okay, that'll be for another time. Thank you.
Okay, I just would like to note that Mr. Peter is the chair of the Blight and Betterment Task Force. And if you would just like to address when you all will be meeting, because the question you just asked, I guess, would be something that would really come under that task force.
We're currently waiting on, it's been a little difficult getting these meetings up with staff, and staff has asked for some time to get that meeting together. So we want to, obviously, the crucial meetings of getting, finance and the existing committees are. We had planned to meet and send out meeting notices when the COVID crisis obviously came about, and we were trying to wait to make sure that we could do it within the guidelines of what the governor put out. So we should have a date within the next couple weeks, and then it should be going out. But we are, and co-chair with obviously the Honorable Carolyn McLaughlin, and we're working together to request a date and notice going out, which should be occurring very soon.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Bergdorf. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I got a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Passes unanimous. Did you say opposed? Ms. Lakakis, you didn't say opposed, right?
I did not.
Oh, okay, thank you. Passes unanimously. We are now on number 17, amending resolution number 45 for 2019 regarding the countywide resiliency grant program.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. This is just an extension. We just need an extension for an award of $138,000 for the development of a countywide resiliency grant, resiliency program. It's specific for the addressing of vulnerabilities with severe storms and things of that nature. Just an extension of the contract terms.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I understand what this vote's about. The state wants to give us $138,000, and when they hand you the money, you say yes. But in this, I'm not going to get into the whole climate change debate, but the idea, certainly it's a national, international issue, but the idea that we would spend $138,000 on something as vague as a resiliency plan to address climate change on the county level, instead of, to borrow from legislator Mayo, save 3 jobs that might get laid off. In the way I weigh these things, it's clear that I just think this is a state thing, but I don't think it's the best use of our money right now to spend $138,000. I understand if we're offered it, we should take it. But this, when the state says it doesn't have any money, this is one of those resolutions that contradicts that. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman?
Who is that?
Matt
Mr.
Peter?
Yes, Mr. Peter.
If there's no other questions or comments, I'd like to make a motion to move it.
Second.
Yes. I would like to say though, Mr. Grimm, you should know that the response to climate change requires the response of all the authorities working collaboratively to address climate change. And so in trying to ensure that that we are following the lead of the county exec's office and what is going on, I think that, I think right now that they're doing the best that they can in addressing the way in which, we should run, especially taking money from whatever source that we can.
I appreciate what you're saying, Madam Chair, but it's a question of really balance today. And I'm not dismissing climate change as an issue, But given the circumstances we find ourselves in right now, I don't think it's the best use of money, given all the other concerns we have in front of us.
Well, I think the climate, as far as I'm concerned, as for me, as I look around the different things that we're going through right now, we have to begin to address this issue sooner than later. And it's something that I think that it has become very important, and we cannot continue to allow it to go by the wayside, because our future is at stake right now, with our children, our grandchildren, and so forth. We want to make sure that we can't continue to pass on things to them and not try to address this as best as we can. So who gave me the motion?
I did, Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
opposed? Very good, passes unanimously. On to number 18, and we're getting close to Mr. McCoy. Confirming the appointment of a member of the Albany Convention Center Authority.
Yes, Madam Chair. Last item, this is just the replacement of our appointment to the board with another individual from our office. Matt Cannon departed, and we're replacing his spot with the Deputy County Executive, Dan Lynch.
Motion.
Madam Chair,
Second.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few questions here, Mike. There's no extra pay for this position, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What will Dan's position be relative to the current formula for the way we split up hotel tax? As you know, it's somewhat a controversy. Will Dan be pushing for the county to get more money based on the hotel tax formula?
He's just going to be a member of the Convention Center Board. That's how they manage the Convention Center.
Yeah, but the formula
The
was.
formula is a different, separate issue. It doesn't, it's not like the Convention Center Board has control of the formula.
Well, I know, but as members of the convention board, they should have I think, a clear position on whether or not that formula is fair to Albany County.
Okay, I'll be sure to ask him and let him know that we should get you a position paper on his thoughts on the matter.
I also question about the economic development report that was issued recently. There was a desire for some dedicated funding for this potential new corporation. And what is the county's position in terms of, do they see the hotel tax as a potential source of funding for that?
Yeah, that's probably a better question for Kevin O'Connor, our Director of Economic Development. And it's kind of not pertinent to necessarily this appointment, but that obviously conversation is going to be happening moving forward.
Well, certainly it's because there has to be some movement on if we have this corporation, how we fund it.
Yeah, I'll be sure to bring it up with Kevin. I'm sure he's got a good position on what direction we want to go in.
I look forward to hearing from him. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very
Motion
much.
move.
I got a motion from Mr.
Joyce.
I got a motion from Mr. Joyce, and I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. I want to thank all of you. Mr. County Executive, would you like to address us now? I'll call for an adjournment after we hear from our county executive.
I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. These are difficult times and we all need to be working together on this. And I look forward to the input of working with the legislature. I had a long conversation with Chairman Joyce last night on a bunch of things that we're doing to move forward. And as we move forward, things have to be reimagined differently. I just got off the phone earlier with some of the superintendents and BOCES. I just got off phone with some of the governor's people about school districts. And my recommendation is not to open up to the fall, but to adjust the kids with special needs and on the spectrum to get them back to school and figure out how we're going to look in the fall. I know that's not what parents want to hear, but with everything going on, we have to open up in a safe manner and protect the safety and health of the residents and make sure we do this the partnership in rolling out how we're going to open up and what the new world's going to look like for not just government, but for businesses and school districts going forward. But other than that, we've been working hard on everything. As you know, I had great conversations with Andrew the last couple of weeks on the budget and everything else. We're not going to know how things fall until October, whether or not the federal government bails out the state to the tune of $25 billion. So, and that's going to affect on how much dollars are going to be passed down to us. One of the things I brought to Andrew's attention was the fact that in this last budget that this just passed, the governor and the Senate and Assembly changed the billing practice for Medicaid. So that's going to cost our nursing home $1.6 million extra next year. And they just passed down, if someone's incapable of standing trial in the court system, the state always had to give them a doctor, get them help, get everything that they needed. They paid for that. We've never paid for that cost, but they passed that down to us in this budget. So we don't, sorry, I was on a conference call. That's being passed down to us, so we have no idea what that's going to cost us, and we're trying to figure that out, not just here in Auburn County, but with all the counties. So there's a lot of things in the budget that have been passed down to us that we're finding now that we have to pay for now, on top of everything else. So it's going to be a lot of partnerships, a lot of working together. I look forward to working with the legislature and Andrew's office on this going forward. Mark, to answer your question on the sales tax revenue for the hotels, you just passed that 3 months ago, so that ship sailed. I did try to talk about changing that formula, but there's no temperature in the legislature on the state level, so that stands. And when they passed this last budget with the home rules with hotels and everything, they did it for 3 years, so we can't go down that path for 3 years.
Oh, geez. Thanks, Dan.
So that was something that we're hot to trot on for the last couple of years to change that formula because of the Capitol Center. That whole thing was based on a $380 million project, not a 90. But the ship sailed, so there's nothing doing that. But I just wanted to say thank you for your hard work, Wanda, working with you too on a variety of different topics and issues. So if you do need anything, we're here for you, and we look forward to working with you.
Well, we just want to thank you we do listen to your daily updates, and they have been. I don't know who's going to get the Emmy. I don't know if it's going to be Cuomo or you, but that's the only thing I can say.
I vote McCoy.
Leave that one alone, Wanda.
I vote McCoy.
Lynn, Lynn. Thank you, Mark.
Well, I have to say you're doing better than the guy across the river. I can say that much. And so we are very proud of you and the way in which you have been keeping up.
I do have one question of Danny.
Who's that?
It's
Go
Joe
ahead,
Biden.
Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
As you know, Dan, we spend roughly $10 million to reimburse Hudson Valley for their college education. As a result of the cancellation of classes, and who knows what's going to happen in the fall, are we looking for some sort of refund or decrease in the cost?
Yes, actually, Chairman Willingham brought that up to me before. Obviously, with the enrollment not being at Hudson Valley right now, that should come down a little bit, but it's only going to be from pretty much March on. So any savings that we can get, we're going to try to achieve. And, that's just a bill that we have tackled in the past, Joe. As you know, when I was in the legislature with you, it's a tough one to swallow, but it won't be much of a savings this year, depending on what happens next year. A lot of universities around this nation are going to online only next year for the first semester. So a lot of colleges aren't even going to open up their campuses. So we'll have to see how that pans out going forward. But great question, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan, as you know, the revenues we've expected already we haven't been getting, over the last 6 or 7 weeks. So I know it's such an uncertain time for you because you don't know what the state's going to do. But the reality, the money we're spending right now, we might not have money for. So have you started to formulate a plan for how what stays and what goes in the current year budget? Because next year it's going to be too late by the end of the year. So do you have some ideas on where we might be able to control some of the costs, given that this revenue shortage has already begun 7 weeks ago?
I'll let Sean talk a little bit on it, and I'll finish it up, Mark.
So,
thanks.
Mark, and we really appreciate everybody who wants to be proactive on this. And I'll give you a little briefing on what has happened so far and current plans. So we haven't taken a revenue hit on our sales tax yet. A lot of people, as you know, stocked up before the end of the quarter, which ended March 31st. So
Okay.
that quarter itself we haven't felt the effects of yet.
Okay.
Also, with the hotel occupancy quarters are December through February 28th. And we all know that this quarter is going to be down, which is March 1st through the end of next month, which is end of May. So we can expect that number to be drastically hit. Overall, it's about $8.6 million total revenue. We get to keep a third of that. So that quarter probably will be significantly down in that. So we'll say it's worth 800, 900,000. We're going to take a couple $100,000 hit when that finally settles up and the filing actually happens in the end of May for June payment. Motor vehicles, we still have data out on that. Our motor vehicle use tax that helps support our DPW infrastructure and our public works department. That also is something that's been a little bit soft so far, but this is something that we talked with Chief of Staff Perrin and your budget officer Eric. We're going to have a meeting on that tomorrow, going through that. I know everybody wants to do something, and we got a lot of things floating in the air. The governor's going to have a lot of things to talk about by the end of next week on his actual plan on what he's going to have to address and where those things are coming from. And we're all staying attuned to that so we can make the most rational decisions going forward.
Thank you. Carolyn? Carolyn?
And then Deanna, would you put on the first video, please?
Did you call me for?
Carolyn,
Yes.
Carolyn, we can
Yes,
hear
I'm
you.
here.
Okay, but we can hear your background.
Okay, now.
Are you ready to speak?
I know there were some issues regarding the land bank, and I wanted to make sure that we were looking into the land bank before we made any decisions related to them. Matt Peter and I from the Blight and Betterment Committee had requested a meeting, as he noted earlier, to talk about some issues, and the land bank is one of those major issues. And I am really anxious to get that conversation going because there are transactions that are pending, there are actions that are pending right now that I'm getting calls about, and I'm really concerned about the operations of the land bank. And I hope that we would have that conversation. I'm not sure what process they're undertaking at this point in time. Are they meeting? Are they making decisions on properties? I can't seem to get a clear answer on that. So in the meantime, I would be hesitant to address any issues related to the land bank because we raised so many questions about them at the last meeting, and those questions continue to arise even in the midst of the pandemic. So I would just ask for some patience there and ask that we be sure to call in, have some contact with the chair of that committee, chair of the land bank, Mr. Tui, so that we can ensure that their operations are in keeping with what we expect and not some inconsistencies that continue to prevail at this point in time.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin. Who's first, Kevin?
Mr. Bergdorf had his hand up first there.
Okay, well, our chair recognizes Mr. Bergdorf.
Wasn't a race. This question is really more for Dan and Sean. I read in the newspaper today that the governor was going to make some decisions either today or beginning of next week with relation to a first round of cuts. And many of them seem to be writing about aid to education, so school budgets could have some certainty as to what their budgets might be when they put them up for vote. Does the Association of Counties have any information or a timetable for when any local assistance information will be coming?
Yeah, Paul, great question, and I'll let Sean talk on it too, but that's, the conference call is just on right now because I'm president of NISAC, so I was supposed to talk on this very topic in schools and some other stuff. We're looking at, he's talking about 30% cut in aid on everything. I actually just had a great conversation with Mayor Sheen on this same topic yesterday night around this time. Basically, yeah, we're all bracing. We don't know what he's gonna do, and as you know, the Senate and Assembly gave the budget director, state budget director, ultimate power. I'm like, what's ultimate power? Ultimate power means in October, and this is what I talked to Chairman Joyce about, that he can come back in October and doesn't get bailed out. They can do whatever they want with the budget, and the Senate and Assembly only has 10 days to either offset the money or let him do what he wants to do. And that's what we're all worried about across the state of New York, because as we're all putting our budgets together, we may not know what October is going to look like after the budget director for the state decides on how much they're going to push down to not just counties, but how much aid they're going to cut from the school districts and everything else.
Very good. Mr. O'Brien?
I'd just like to try to wrap this thing up. It's getting late in the day, so.
Okay, well, we just want to let you know, Dan, that we're going to continue to work closely, with your office as we get a clear picture of where we stand fiscally over the summer and into the fall budget cycle. We realize that the impacts of COVID-19 is on everyone's mind and is going to be factored into all the decisions made regarding county finances for the foreseeable future. We thank you for taking the time to address us. I'm going to take this opportunity now to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I got a motion to adjourn from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. Again, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank all of you.